Virgil has had his say too. He said, Trent has got to deal with it. We as a team have to deal with that as well. But you are speaking about one of the biggest clubs of all time in Real Madrid. Everyone shares different opinions, and he feels like he's done it all, and he did it. And he wants to try something different. That's fair enough for Big Virgil, isn't it?
It's difficult as well, isn't it, for the captain? You know, to try and protect his teammate, good friend that he's played here for many years, and not upset the club or the fan base. So I think he dealt with that perfectly.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think you're an excellent skipper. Now we're going to get your thoughts of someone who's been involved in one or two, let's just say, controversial exits at the clubs, including Sol Campbell's move from Spurs back to Arsenal back in 2001, which I believe caused a little bit of a stir. It's a very good morning to football agent Sky Andrews. Sky, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Sky.
Good morning, guys. Did you remember in 1998, Ali, when we was at that Hewlett Packard event?
Absolutely.
And you got told that you weren't in the Scotland squad.
I was devastated, wasn't I, mate?
Mate, you was crying.
I know it was.
To me, that was how passionate you was about playing for your country. Anyway, I just thought I'd mention that.
Absolutely right. I'll say that to Gabby. Remember, it was, you're right, we were at the function down in London, and I got a phone call to tell me I wasn't going to 98 World Cup.
You're joking.
No, I'll tell you what, I don't mind telling you, I was in tears.
Who was the manager?
Craig Brown.
Oh.
Yeah.
Craig
I
Brown.
remember me and Sol speaking about it.
That's right, mate. That's right, mate.
I thought Ali McCoist was a tough guy.
No, mate. No, but by the way, Sky, I still cry about it every week, and I'm not joking. Anyway, we'll talk about Sol and we'll talk about transfers and I mean this one, obviously Trent moving to Real Madrid. There was obviously when Salah and Van Dijk re-signed, it looked as though Trent was going to leave Sky. I think generally speaking, a lot of people, myself included, out of the three, he would be the one that did move. So from that point of view, I'm not too surprised. However, what has surprised me, / disappointed me, is a little bit is the reaction, mate.
Yeah, I think what you'll see is that whether a player goes on a free contract or whether a player goes for 100 million, the fans are still going to boo the player. And so that's why players look at it and just think it doesn't matter what I do. If I leave the club, the fans aren't going to be happy. And you've got to say that Liverpool are just a classy club, right? Because some clubs might have gone down the road of trying to make Trent look bad because he hadn't signed a new contract. But loyalty is just within the confines of a contract. Once you're out of contract, then you should be allowed to do whatever you want to do. And the fact is, most footballers and agents do deals. So if there's a deal to do, they'll do a deal. And the reason why this situation has happened is because it's just Trent and his brother, and they held their counsel, and Trent decided at some stage, something happened that made Trent think, do you know what, I'm not signing again. And so most players don't like falling below the pay scale. So it takes an exceptional character to say, you know what, I know I'm not getting paid, but there's a bigger picture for me. I mean, if you look at Declan Rice, right? Yep. David Sullivan admitted that he offered Declan Rice 200 grand a week. And the narrative would have been like, in that year, Declan Rice lost 10 million, but his character was that he felt that he needed to do something else. And what we got to remember is that most footballers and most agents aren't going to run the contract down because from an agent's point of view, especially if they've got overheads, they're going to want to do a deal, and then they're going to, the narrative that could have been given to Trent is, just sign the contract. If someone wants to buy you, they'll just come and buy you. That's the narrative that agents give a lot of players. But to actually know that you're falling below the pay grade, but you've got a bigger picture, is not an easy thing to do, because I've been there.
But Sky, do you think that even if Liverpool offered Trent to be the most best player in Liverpool's history, he would have signed? Or do you think that his agent has spoken to Real Madrid and they've says, please don't sign a new contract, then we can give you a lump sum when you sign, rather than us pay 100 million to Liverpool?
Do you know what? That's a good question, Gabby. Yeah? And here's the thing, right? Clubs need to have people in place for in constant communication with the player and the agent, and understand the psyche of a player and an agent, because a lot of agents will just do a deal, right? But there's always a deal to be done. If someone had said, look, I'm not criticizing anybody at the club, but I'm just saying from my point of view, clubs need to understand the psyche of players and agents, because there's always a deal. If you sit down with a player and the player's got a year left, 18 months left, and you say, look, I know you want to go to Real Madrid. Let's just do a deal so that you don't lose that financially and you get to go to the club. Now, let's say that Trent's worth 75 million, right? There is a deal to be done where Trent still gets his money, and if he wants to go to Real Madrid, he can still go. But what's happened is the fans are looking at it and thinking, do you know what? 75 million's gone out the window.
Yeah.
But Trent didn't cost anything, so he's going, and there shouldn't be a problem. But in my eyes, if you're going to be commercial, then you need to do a deal with the player. It might not be conventional, but there's always a deal to be done. I spoke to a famous ex-player for England who was sporting director at a club, and he told me a scenario that he had with a player. They sat down with the player and they said, right, if we give you this and you do, and they did the deal and the player left. But it's very difficult for a club to be in that situation, because if you're a classy club like Liverpool, you don't want to come out and start saying anything about Trent. And then because it's just Trent and his brother, right, they were able to hold their counsel. Trust me, if it was a bigger company with big overheads and they had to be commercial, they would look at this thinking that we've got to be transactional. And then they would have tried to speak to Liverpool and say, can we do a deal? Okay, we do a deal. Trent signs a contract. Then 6 months later, Trent says he wants to leave. And then the agents get him to Real Madrid and they get double
Sky,
money.
tell me, mate, just a quick one, because I'm running out of time, which I apologise for. Moving forward, I'm guessing, and you'll be able to answer the question, is it going to be easier for Trent? Because I wouldn't say he's out of sight, out of mind, because he's actually going to Real Madrid, arguably the biggest and best club in the world, with size-wise, biggest club in the world. But moving on, how did Sol handle it? Because he's not moving away. He's moving into a situation where he's going to meet it head on effectively every minute of every day. And I'm asking you, will it be easier, obviously, for Trent because he's going to another country? And as I say, not out of sight, out of mind, but certainly out a different league.
Yeah, I think Trent made his decision earlier than Sol. Sol's situation was Real Madrid, Barcelona, Bayern Munich, Inter Milan. They were all knocking on the door. But for Sol just wanted to be in a winning team.
Yeah.
So he didn't make his decision till late in the year when he left. So for Sol, it was like, I'm staying. So that was his thought process all the way through January, February, March. I'm staying. And he didn't want to speak to anybody because he just wanted to play in a winning team. And that's what he communicated to the club. Whereas Trent's situation is a bit different because they're winning the Premier League. So he's obviously decided that I need to go and play for Real Madrid, because I honestly think that Trent thinks he can win the Ballon d'Or playing for Real Madrid, because his stock has gone up and down over the years. And there would have been a time where he might have been listening to the radio and someone might have been having a go at him, and he's thinking, no, do you know what? I'm not putting up with this. So that's my view. My view is that he decided that he just needed to go to Real Madrid to try and win the
Get a move done. Sky, brilliant, mate.
Yes.
Thanks for your time this morning.
Sky.
Lovely
Top
to talk to you again, pal. Take care.
Sorry about crying in 98.
talkSPORT Breakfast, waking you up Monday to Friday morning from 6 a.m. on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.